The day started quietly, almost deceptively so. The morning sun filtered weakly through the blinds, painting long stripes of light across the kitchen floor. It should have been comforting, but the silence was overwhelming. My husband had been away for nearly 2 weeks now, and I found myself restless in ways I hadn't expected. At first, I had embraced the solitude, sleeping late, watching movies he'd never choose, cooking simple meals just for myself. But as the days stretched on, the house grew heavier with loneliness. The leak in the sink wasn't catastrophic, but the constant dripping had become unbearable. The tiny sound echoed through the emptiness of the house, like a reminder of everything that was fraying at the edges. So, almost absent-mindedly, I had called the plumbing service. It was supposed to be routine, nothing more. When he arrived that afternoon, toolbox in hand, I wasn't prepared for how different the air would feel with him inside my home. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a quiet strength about him. His shirt clung slightly to his chest, damp from the summer heat, and there was a calm confidence in the way he carried himself. "Afternoon," he said simply, his voice steady, deep. I led him to the kitchen, trying to steady my own voice as I explained the problem. He knelt to inspect the sink, the muscles in his forearms shifting as he worked. The scent of metal, soap, and a trace of cologne filled the air. I told myself not to linger, but my feet betrayed me, keeping me anchored close by. I offered him water, though I wasn't sure he needed it. When he asked for tools from his kit, I leaned closer than I needed to. My questions were small, silly. "How long have you been doing this? Or is it hard work?" But they were excuses, little hooks to keep him talking. He answered politely at first, but soon I noticed the pauses between his words, the way his gaze lingered a little longer on me than it should. It was subtle but undeniable. An undercurrent of something more began to hum between us. When he finally stood, wiping his hands clean with a rag, he gave me a small smile. "That should take care of it. No more leaks." Relief should have been all I felt, but instead I panicked. If he left now, the silence would return, and I wasn't ready for it. Not when the spark of something dangerous had already been lit. "Would you like some coffee before you go?" I blurted out, my voice softer than I intended. He hesitated, studying my face as though searching for the meaning behind the offer. Then slowly he nodded. "Sure. Coffee would be nice." I brewed the coffee with hands that trembled slightly. The sound of the machine filled the room, and behind me, I felt his presence like a heat, steady and strong. When I handed him the mug, our fingers brushed. The contact was fleeting, but it was enough to make my heart stutter. We drank in silence, both of us acutely aware of the tension. Finally he broke it. "You seem lonely." The words hit me harder than expected. They weren't accusatory, just observant, but they peeled something open inside me. I lowered my gaze. "I am." The truth hung heavy between us. He didn't speak, but he reached across the table, his hand brushing mine. His touch was hesitant at first, but when I didn't pull away, his fingers closed gently over mine. I should have stopped it. I should have remembered vows and promises, the life I had built with someone else. But loneliness is a powerful thing. And the warmth of his hand felt like a lifeline I hadn't realized I was desperate for. When he stood, I rose too. The silence between us was no longer empty. It was charged, full of things neither of us could name. He moved closer, his hand sliding to my waist. His eyes locked on mine. The moment stretched, giving me time to turn away. But I didn't. When his lips met mine, the kiss was a collision of fire and longing, a hunger I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. My arms wound around his neck, my body leaning into his as though it had been waiting for him all along. We stumbled into the living room, lost in the rush of it all. The world outside ceased to exist. There was only us, the heat of his body, the certainty of his touch. Every kiss, every caress, was a confession we couldn't speak aloud. Time blurred. The hours slipped past like shadows, leaving us tangled in sheets, in sweat, in guilt and desire. When it was finally over, We lay side by side, the weight of what we had done settling over us. His arm rested across me, his chest rising and falling with each breath. His eyes searched mine with tenderness, but also conflict. "I shouldn't have let this happen," he whispered. "Neither should I admitted. The guilt was real, but so was the relief, the undeniable joy of feeling wanted again. For a long time we didn't move. The silence was softer now, filled with the rhythm of his breathing, the warmth of his skin. But reality couldn't be ignored forever. Eventually he rose, gathering his clothes with quiet reluctance. "I should go," he said. I nodded, though the ache in my chest begged otherwise. He dressed quickly, his movements efficient but heavy. At the door he paused, turning back to me with eyes that held questions neither of us could answer. Then he was gone, leaving the house in silence once more. I sat there for hours afterward, wrapped in the lingering scent of him, the memory of his touch still burning on my skin. The guilt crept in slowly, whispering reminders of promises broken, of lines crossed. But beneath it, another feeling stirred, one I couldn't deny. For the first time in so long I had felt alive. The days that followed were strange. I went about my routines, but everything was tinted with the memory of him. Washing dishes, I remembered his hands. Folding laundry, I thought of his voice. At night, lying in bed alone, I relived every touch, every breath, until sleep finally claimed me. I told myself it was a one-time thing, a mistake born of loneliness. But deep down I knew it was more than that. He had fixed my sink, yes, but he had also awakened something inside me I thought had been lost forever. When my husband returned, the house filled again with noise and routine. I smiled, I cooked, I played the role expected of me. But a part of me had shifted, changed in ways I couldn't reverse. Sometimes when I caught my reflection in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. Not because of guilt, though it lingered, but because of the spark in my eyes, the quiet secret that no one else could see. Life went on. But I knew, no matter how much time passed, I would never forget the day the plumber walked into my home. The day he fixed more than just a leak. The day he reminded me what it felt like to be seen, to be desired, to be alive. And even now I know, when the silence returns, when the loneliness presses in, I'll remember him. Not just as the man who came to fix my sink, but as the man I couldn't let walk away.